So, this is a bit of a impromptu conversations with a Passion Pilgrim because last week when me and Logan had an epic conversation, something happened in the technology realm. I think it was because I didn't update my phone, and so it didn't post, it didn't upload, and I just felt so awful because even though it's not my fault, we had a great conversation, and the whole point of bringing her on here was to celebrate her. And so it was weird to be like, well, fuck, like I can't just pretend like that didn't happen. And so it's been totally like disrupting my feed and I haven't been able to like move on from this point. So this weekend I sat with it and I was like, "Hey Logan, let's just do it again because that's what needs to happen." So we wanted to give her the option to come back on again, and so here she is. Just wait for her to join. There we go.
Hello.
Yeah, so basically we're bringing you back on to have pretty much a new conversation, and it kind of sucks because yeah, what we talked about last week was super rich, but I love that you're just like
Yeah.
keen to again. And it's been really good because I've sat with a couple questions where, every time we have these conversations, it's kind of like I don't plan it too much and
Yeah.
kind of see what comes out, but then I realize I'm like, oh, there's actually some legit things that I didn't really ask you or didn't really, so I'm glad that actually we get to go
Cool.
around, go a little bit deeper and feel like how are you anxiety wise this time?
I'm good. We've done it before, so we're just
Yeah,
going again.
I know. So I'm okay, cool. Like now that we've scratched the surface, let's
Exactly.
do it. And yeah, your hair looks great. So
Thanks.
so yeah, so for those of you that are tuning in for the first time and haven't seen Logan before because I didn't post the last one, she's been sitting on the feed recently because I posted her bio, but she's a van lifer and
Mhm.
she's been a van lifer pretty much her whole adult life. It's something that came deep within her, and she's also my VA, so she helps a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff to Passion Pilgrim and helps keep me grounded in my like creative process. So so that's been really helpful. And I think one of the things I admire about you is that you're so committed to your freedom. You're so committed to listening to that deep internal call, even though you don't know why or what it means. There's that real commitment there. And at the same time, you're the same as a lot of us. You're introverted, you're creative,
Mhm.
a lot of anxiety, and yet you still have that power to like move forward, like do your own thing.
Yeah.
Um, and just so early on in life as well. So I really just admire that about you, that you're able to listen to that deep knowing because it takes a lot of us our entire life to really tap into that. So yeah, I just wanted to invite you on and just dive into it again. So and I liked what you posted too about on your story because like of course because this was last minute I did a shit job like
That's
even
okay.
that it was going to happen, but hopefully it saves this time.
Yeah.
I loved what you said about how a lot of people in the van life community are passion pilgrims.
Yeah.
So I just want to start by defining what a passion pilgrim is. So for those of you who are watching, obviously, Passion Pilgrim is the page. It's my brand, and it's really this marriage of words that I came up with years ago when I was trying to define who I am. I was incredibly lost. And I mean, I'm lost every other week, So it's
We all
like,
are.
yeah. So it just came out of this, like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, who am I? What's my thing? And being so creative and having all these different ideas and all these different desires and that call to adventure and all this and being really like a deep person as well. I just kind of I thought maybe, okay, well, maybe my thing will be like I'll travel the world and tell people about it, and so then I just came up with through a little bit of like thinking on a rainy day, because I can still envision like the place that it all came to me, but I love alliteration, so that's why it's PP.
Mhm.
And what really came in was Passion Pilgrim. And so what is a Passion Pilgrim? Well, a Passion Pilgrim is an individual with an unshakable commitment to create, connect, and explore. So, um, I want to ask you, how does that show up in your life?
Um, I think in every every way. I mean, I'm pretty committed to exploring, yeah, the world, but like more so myself. And some days that shows up in a way that I'm just like chilling in bed watching a stupid Netflix show. And then other times I'm like actually doing what I need to do to feel more like myself and to find more about myself. And I think having the van gives me a good way to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it shows up in my hobbies probably. Like I like being around plants. I like going outside and just like going on a hike that makes you want to die because it's so entirely hard. But it pushes you to your limit to like see who you are and what you can do and all of that. So I think that's what would make me that way, or how I resonate with that.
Cool. And I love what you said, and you immediately tied exploration to your inner world and your outer world. By the definition that I came up with for this is it's actually quite vague. It covers all bases,
Yeah.
but in a vague way, because I really do have a belief that on some level we all inhibit this passion pilgrim within us, and some are really it's that unshakable commitment to it. So somebody that's really said, okay, I'm gonna be with this, and usually has gone through they're either with it right away, or maybe they've gone through a period of numbing, like addiction or mental health crisis or whatever. But it's like that commitment to continue showing up in your life, even when it's really, really hard, and showing up really just by being here and not just checking out. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that exploring the inner and outer landscape. And then the connection piece really came in when you were talking about like connecting with your body, doing something really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then talk to me about like creativity a little bit, or just the call to create. Like, what are you creating in your life right now?
Huh. I'd say freedom, like big picture, but
Mm-hmm.
literally, I'm always like, I don't know, writing a poem or drawing something or like the van building something. I'm always finding fulfillment by doing things that make me think critically and create things. So I like having a finished product at the end. And whether that's like for me, living in the van and creating freedom for myself, it's not a product yet, but I know that like if I'm constantly working on it every day, at the end of it all, I will see an actual product from it. So
Yeah.
I think I like a lot of arts and crafts like you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a craft person.
Yeah. So walk me through a little bit more about the big picture of what you want to create. So you were saying create freedom. Um, and you're kind of involved. So for those of you who don't know Logan, she's got her own van life page. So this is Wild Van Life, and you guys have a YouTube channel. And yeah, you don't have a traditional job. You have a couple jobs that can travel with you. You're extremely creative in the way that you create your own income by buying and selling things. And what is this bigger vision?
I'd say ever since I was probably like 15, I knew that I didn't want to work for anyone at all. It's just not the way that I worked. Like my brain couldn't comprehend doing what someone told me to do. That sounds so bad, but
Yeah. Which is funny because you're actually really good at that.
That's
really
funny.
fabulous.
But I get to do it on my own time, right? So I guess that gives me the feeling of freedom, like the illusion of freedom, and I'm like, okay, I can do this now. But I knew since a really young age that I didn't want to be going to a 9 to 5 and doing what I was supposed to do. And I just kind of set off on this vision to create a life of freedom. And for me, that looks like having my own property that I don't have to pay a lot of money for every month. That gives me like financial freedom to go and do what I want to be doing. And that's morphed into having the van in order to save money to buy that property and do what I want to be doing. So it seems really focused around money, like at first glance, but I don't ever want to feel like I'm lacking. And so by working towards that goal, it creates space for me to do the things that set my soul on fire, that make me happy. And so having a property with a tiny house and that's it, maybe a goat, is the end goal.
You know, I really wanted chickens until I found out I was allergic to eggs. Now I'm like actually pretty sad.
That sucks.
But goats are awesome. I remember when I was in India, like first of all, their eyes, like the slit in their eyes is like sideways. Like they just like look at you all like weird.
They're so cute.
Yeah, we're gonna go, next weekend. We're gonna go to the Gili Islands, and there's goats all over it, and you can like pet them and stuff.
Cool. That's awesome.
Video. Sidetrack. So tell me more about this creating space. So you were talking about freedom, and you know, I love that you recognize that you're immediately like putting a huge emphasis on money as freedom, because I think a lot of people can really resonate with that, because it's the system that can make us feel quite trapped. And what you've done is like, you live in a developed country, you live in Ontario in Canada, and there's very much a system there, and yet you have made choices that allow you to feel more free. And what's allowed that then is the space that you've then created. And so you've created some financial space. But like, yeah, tell me more about this space that you've created. Yeah, just tell me more about that.
Like for freedom, you're saying?
Just any of it. So like let's go deeper into the creating space, because you were saying like living in a van has created space for you.
Yeah. So
what space did it create?
By living in a van, I get to choose the hours that I work. So if I'm working 4 days a week for 10 hours a day, then I have space on the weekends to travel wherever I want to be traveling and enjoy the world. And if I one day am parked up at this beautiful spot, then I don't have to attend a job and I get to do what I want to be doing. And I'm a person who values like my own time and doing what I want on my own terms. I'm not too good at being told like, you need to do this now. So creating this space for myself in terms of having that like financial cushion allows me to be a lot happier and take things slower, which has been working really well for me lately. And like having that financial space has been just like really recently, but I already noticed such a difference in my life in terms of like the goals that I want and the way I'm going to go about them.
Yeah. So what's shifted in you recently that has made you feel a little bit more relaxed about it all?
I think it's just realizing that I'm capable. When I was younger, I was always trying to save money, but I didn't know what I was doing. And then getting to a point that I realized, okay, I'm good. And for a long time, I actually like fought money. I was 16 and saying, I hate money. I'm never going to care about any of that crap.
Doesn't
really
I
realized,
but anyway.
Yeah. And then I realized like that's not realistic, and you can't just be like 100% spiritual and not actually have a life. Like you need to be present and grounded in the real world that you're a part of. So sorry, I forget where I was going with that. But yeah,
you're talking about your capability and the shift that you have in relationship with money.
I've just realized that healing that type of relationship and realizing not coming from a place of lack has given me so much confidence in myself to do what I want to do and not depend on a job that I know I'm not going to be happy in. So
I love what you said about not coming from a place of lack has helped me feel more confident in myself.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And so tell me about that. And what is this place of lack?
I think we all see it, or maybe that's just my perspective, but I think that a lot of people come from a place of like, I'm not enough and I'm not capable of doing what I see other people doing. And I've felt that way for a long time and still even feel that way, of course, but coming from that place only attracts that type of place, I've noticed in my life. So if I'm constantly running around like a chicken with my head cut off all day saying, I'm never going to be enough, I'm never going to make the type of money that I want or feel worthy enough for the jobs that I want to have, then they're not going to come to me. And I realized that pretty quickly when I was walking around the world feeling that way. And the second that I just said like, no, that's it. I'm capable. Everyone's capable, I actually believe. I'm capable. I can do this. and I put my head down and I actually did what I want to be doing, I immediately felt like the world open up and things come to you and you attract things that you didn't expect you could ever attract.
Cool. And so for everybody listening who, because I think I want to highlight, like, we all get stuck in that place of lack sometimes. I mean, it depends on your period, or like if something's happened and, you know, like you're sick, you know, or you know, something really terrible happens, or like if, I don't know, somebody yells at you one day and you just like can't let it, you can't shake it off, or whatever. It's like that negativity attracts negativity, and you know, we are responsible for pulling ourselves out of it. But yeah, I love what you're saying in the conceptual base. I want to hear about something specific of like, how did you put that to work and what did it bring in? So after, you know, tell me about something that you really had to shift your mindset and then you were like really fucking stoked when you called it in.
I think a great example is like a physical, literal example is very recently. I resell things for a living, for anyone who doesn't know. So I resell like clothing and items, like household kitchen items. I don't know. So a good example of this is very recently, I was telling myself, no one's ever going to buy vintage. Like, there's so much vintage out there. Whatever I find, I shouldn't pick it up because it's not worth it and no one is going to want it. And then I just like came across this vintage Pyrex dish and I listed it, and I'd never seen that type of return on something that I have ever picked up before. And immediately I was like, I've been missing out for so long because I've been telling myself that I'm not worth it and what I'm doing isn't worth it. And then immediately, the second I open myself up to the world, it returns exactly what I didn't think I was worth. And that's like shifted the whole way that I do my business now. So that's been a really exciting and like literal way of changing my mindset.
Yeah, that's great. And I love, so tell me more about like this call to vintage.
I love vintage stuff.
For telling yourself you're the only one.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I love finding stuff for myself that's vintage, and I was like, it's too one-off. Like, it's just a me thing. Like, actually, a good example is I have this blanket.
Oh, sick. I love it.
I absolutely love it, and I couldn't sell it. I had to keep it for myself. But
yeah,
I'm telling myself, I only like this kind of stuff, and that's just such a lie. And I had to like just let the light bulb go off and be like, I'm worth it, and it's worth it for me to put time into my passions because now I'm happier doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
And you're also like not just buying and selling like boring shit that doesn't mean anything to you. You're selling stuff that makes you excited.
Yeah, for sure. Like I love picking up Lululemon, but at the same time, it doesn't make me happy.
Yeah. And so what do you love about selling vintage stuff? Like, why vintage?
Because it has a story behind it. I love thinking about like, this glass sat in some grandmother's basement for 20 years until her daughter found it, and just like the whole story behind it. I pick up a piece and like immediately imagine what had happened before and the whole story of it, which sets my imagination on fire too.
I love that. Oh, I just got goosebumps. I love my like magical little mystery world of treasure.
Yeah,
so
totally.
And I totally resonate with you about I mean, fuck, I make mala beads. Like, how many mala beads out there, you know? And how many like yoga girls are there in Bali that make jewelry, you know? Like, so many. And in Goa and all this stuff. And yet the moment that, again, I got to just, I gave myself the energy to put into it, people just started like buying them off my neck. And it was like, just because there's a gazillion mala beads out there doesn't mean people aren't going to feel what I feel about these ones, you know? And also I love the way that your imagination goes on fire when you think about these vintage things. And it's like almost as if that is like attracting the very person that's going to appreciate it the most,
Yes.
you know? Because like everybody who buys and sells vintage is different, you know? And it's like, it's the real connection with the entire process of acquiring that treasure, you know, that item. So
I relate. And like no one can sell malas the way you can sell malas and like give off the energy that you can.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just I think it's really important for like, I mean, why I love what you do so much too, is because I love a treasure hunt. Like I'm always keen to go on
Me too.
find something super cool. So and then so let's talk about, so like you live in a van because you really desire freedom, and you do have a vision of like how you would like to kind of spend your life. Like you want this piece of land, and you want your goat, and you want your farm kind of like, you know, your more of a sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so backtracking to like, okay, choosing an event so that I'm going to get there. And then there's this element where you're like, okay, I'm going to choose to live in a van, but also I'm not just going to work my ass off on 2 jobs while I live in this van. So tell me about the balance of actually what you want and enjoying the process.
Yeah. I'm pretty terrible at that, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I didn't have David, my boyfriend, I would probably just like dig a hole and work in that hole until, you know, I popped out. But yeah, I'm not too good at pulling myself out of that. Like, for example, today I worked all day because David wants to go get a Christmas tree tomorrow. So like, it's just the balance of him mostly pulling me out of like, hey, you need to stop working.
Yeah.
And then once I'm out there enjoying like the adventure that we're on, immediately I'm like, why have my eyes been closed? Like, what have I been doing? I could be enjoying this right now. And instead I'm thinking about the million things I have to get doing. And maybe that's just like my anxious mind coming into it and telling me I'll never have enough or never be enough. And it's just like a constant battle between those. But the second that I do feel some balance, it makes sense as to why I wanted it to begin with. It's something I have not figured out.
I mean, does anybody have it figured out with that? It's just like the polarities of, I love what you're saying about how important it is to have people around you to kind of pull you out of your darkness in the present moment, because I experience a lot of that too. Like, for example, if I hang out with all my spiritual friends too much, like I get really deep, like really and like start to like not be able to like leave my house because we're so busy like in this existential realm, you know. And I'm like, I love, like, my boyfriend's like, yeah, let's go surfing, and I was like, yeah, let's go do something that is like cultivating joy, you know, and like cut the salt and stuff. So it's, I think you know, speaking, I love that you're like super raw the way that you share that, and then also just speaking to the balance of these things. What I'm curious about though is the way that you didn't just go and get a secure job with somebody. Like, you know, you're like, okay, yeah, I want to save this money, but also I believe in myself that I can create my own income. So like, where does that come from?
I guess a little backstory is the reason, I can't blame it all on this, but I think the reason that I really do enjoy working so much and can't get myself out of it is because I grew up with a dad who's just a complete workaholic, and I saw that my whole life. So immediately I just assume that's the norm. And that's something I've been trying to break for a while, but I just can't figure it out. And growing up, my dad was an entrepreneur, so he had his own hardwood flooring business, and I got to see that. And I guess he kind of instilled in me that, like, if you want something, you have to go do it yourself. And it's a negative kind of way he instilled it, as in, like, can't depend on others, you got to do it yourself. And I really quickly adopted that in a different way than he had told me to. As in, like, I just depend on myself because that's what makes me feel independent and powerful and like I can do whatever I want. So the second that I worked a couple jobs for other people, and I worked at the keg, I did grocery clerk, and I very quickly realized that that wasn't for me. And if I wanted to be happy while also working and making money and supporting myself, it was just going to have to be for myself. And I didn't know how to go about that until a year ago, probably, when I started.
I really want to honor your call to be happy, though. Like, there's a lot of people out there that I admire in the way that they can really put their head down and like power through some stuff and like really make shit happen. But again, with that delicate balance of
allowing yourself to enjoy the process. So to really be courageous enough to just recognize your truth of, this is what I love to do. And yeah, it might be a little bit harder, but I actually like really believe in myself that I can do it, create my own income. And so tell me a little bit about, because I'm sure that there's like when I look at you, I worked for other jobs for a while. I was always quite resourceful as well. But, you know, I'm sure there's people out there that are like, holy fuck, like this girl has enough balls to like just start her, like not have a like stable, like live in a van, you know, and all this stuff. And, tell me a little bit about the process of creating your own income, because I think there's a lot of people out there that do want to be digital nomads or to,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are working from home now, which is like, thank you, Corona, to like let all the bosses know that's possible.
Yeah.
You know, and I think also people are becoming aware of like how lonely it can get sometimes when you work alone. But when it comes to the journey of really creating your own income, doing something that you love, yeah, tell me a little bit about how that got started, the transition, like, but you know, especially considering finances were really like a big thing, you know, you're like, well, I have to like.
So I do want to say before, like the reason that I was able to do that is because I had the van and I'm not paying rent on anything, which like drastically reduces my cost of living, which was a strategic move, but like it obviously helped me a little bit. And so I saved that money while I was working full-time at another job to build the van, which is how I did it. I worked a traditional job that I absolutely hated in order to build the van. But then after I finished, I think it was over a year ago, I sat unemployed for a couple months and didn't know what I was going to do, and was lucky enough to be able to pay my bills during that time. And I came across Poshmark, which is the app I mostly sell on. And I had a lot of stuff that needed to get sold from before living in the van. And I just listed stuff and accept way too low of offers on things, but like immediately realized this is a thing. Like I've been thrifting my whole life. I've always like given things to friends that I've thrifted and like they found value in it. So I saw that it was possible and that people found value in things that I found. And so I just would go to the thrift store and pick up like, I don't know, something that I liked, I don't know, Lululemon pants or something like that, and immediately flip them. And I realized like pretty quickly, this can be a full-time thing.
Yeah.
I think my mind's always thinking like that, but like there's just kind of a light bulb moment in the thrift store as I'm like searching up what these items sell for. I'm like, I can actually do this and I can be way happier doing it. Like I can choose if I want to sleep in or not. And that was like a big thing at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you get to shop all the time.
It can also be very dangerous because I can be a shopaholic and just accumulate so much crap.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely gone in and out of shopping addiction multiple times. And yeah, my family does, some people in my family do have a tendency to love to spend money on nice things. So see here. What is something that you would like to, like, what's something that is a, like, feels a little bit out of reach that you're working on manifesting right now?
Probably being able to afford the property that I want. I have like a very strict mind of what I want, and I don't know why I gave myself this deadline, but I told myself like when I was probably 16, by the time I was the end of my 22nd year, I would own something. And so I'm kind of pushing really hard this year to get to that. And I could easily just say like, that's a little bit unrealistic. Don't do that. But I also know that like I set that goal for a reason and I want to achieve it. So I think finding something in time and that feels right is something I'm really pushing for.
What would make it, what makes you think it's unrealistic? Like I bought
because the doubt tells me that, right? It's not actually. You cut out there, sorry.
Okay, I was just saying, like, it's funny that you have that because I didn't have that goal, but I do have a situation in my life where I acquired my first home when I was 22. I had no cash saved up.
Hmm.
And I ended up, yeah, buying my first home when I was 22. And really, it was, I mean, I was really grateful. I have a mom who works in real estate and values owning something. And the market, like the economic, the current economic situation of that time, it was like 2010, so it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And it was actually a property that was owned by people that I know, and the price was right. And so, and the location, it was just kind of a fuck yes inside. It was very quick,
Cool.
the decision. But the funny thing is like when I reflect back on that, I was like, holy shit, like I had no savings, and like I just, you know, and luckily my mom, like I was able to ask for help though, and it took me a few years to really realize that I still did that. You know, like I brought myself to that point of acquiring that place because I could ask for help, and then I showed up and paid the mortgage and dealt with everything else. And you know, I sold that house a couple years ago, and it really has afforded me a lot of the lifestyle I have now, which is freedom, you know. And it's not that this is the only way to freedom, but it was something that you know, it took about 10 years. Like I owned it for 10 years almost. And yeah, it really helped. But the thing that I'm wanting to contradict right now in your story is the unrealistic part of it, because like, dude, some shit can happen overnight, you know?
Yeah.
Tell me more about the blocks that you keep that are getting in your way right now of your manifestation process.
That's really awesome and inspiring to hear, because I think that there is a block, and I really recognize that, as in like I'm just telling myself it's not possible, even though I know it is, because I wouldn't have set that goal if I didn't know it was possible to begin with. So the block is just like all the same, just worded differently, that I think we all experience, as in we're constantly telling ourselves that we're not enough, whether that's like not enough to get what we want, not enough, we don't look good enough, whatever it is. And I'm just experiencing that really strongly right now, as in I'm always telling myself, but like, who are you to do that, you know? And I think we all feel that, but that's what's holding me back from that right now, like a lot.
And so like, what would it be like if you just let go of how you were going to get it?
It'd probably be a lot easier, to be honest. I would stop overthinking, like the chronic overthinker I am.
Yeah. I'll do this little exercise with you. So I think it'll really help. And for everybody that's listening too, that wants to manifest everything. So let's see. Okay. So the intention plus the is this backwards? It's probably backwards, isn't it?
But I can make it out kind of.
Okay. So damn it. I hate that it's mirrored.
I know.
Anyway, so the intention plus the mechanism equals the result.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to just read Japanese right now backwards. So what percent of the intention plus what percent of the mechanism equals your 100% result?
Probably 80% of the intention.
Okay. And then 20% of the mechanism, like the how?
Yeah.
And why do you think that?
Because the intention's been there for so long that it feels like I've set it into motion, whereas all I'm waiting on is the 20% to align and make it happen.
Okay. I hate that this is backwards. What if I told you, and I love that you recognize the power of intention, because it is strong, it is an energetic force that you're putting out there, but what if I told you that it was actually 100% intention plus 0% mechanism equals 100% result?
I believe you.
Yeah. Because what if you actually had no idea how it was going to happen, but you were receiving it?
Yeah.
You know, I think, and there's been lots of things in my life where it's happened that way. And I mean, fuck, I could probably be a better manifester in a lot of different ways if my own head got out of my ass sometimes. but that 20% is what's holding you back.
Yeah, because I'm not putting it into the intention for sure.
Yeah. And so I want you to let go of everything that you think you can't do, and thinking that you have it all figured out, and thinking that you need to have enough money or this, or need to have X in order to get Y. And it's just really being like, no, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Just going to get this house, because the universe only listens to what you're saying. So if you're saying not going to happen, unless, it's just going to hear not going to happen, you know? So
100%.
Yeah. So that's my advice for the day.
I appreciate it. And I like it a lot.
Mantra is fuck the 20%.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, cool. And just really, I believe in you. And again, like time is irrelevant and all that stuff. But I love that you that's a at Lululemon. So I used to work at Lululemon, and they call them BHAGs. So big, hairy, audacious goals. Like something that's really like a really big goal. It's like it's kind of feels unattainable, but like a piece of you knows that it's possible, you know? And so really tapping that piece that knows that it's possible. And going back to your one of your things that you've said in both of our conversations is, I'm capable. I am capable. And so really reminding yourself of that. Like, I don't know if maybe you want to like change up your little letter board or something.
It's time. I've been meaning to do that for like a month now.
Yeah. Cause like in our last conversation, you're like, yeah, I can do that. Like everybody else is doing that. I can do that, you know?
Yeah.
So I got a house when I was 22. You can do it too. You know?
Yeah, no, that's really inspiring to hear.
Yeah.
Like she did it, I can do it.
Yeah. And then, you know, I went through being house poor and all that stuff, but you know, and then coming out the other side and having that stability, and now I'm looking to like get another piece of land. So it's like,
Cool.
you know, it's totally possible. And I love your BHAGs.
Thanks for hearing them.
Yeah. What is it that you're really passionate about sharing? So you're pretty active on like social media. You definitely vibe on community. You're very stubborn in your beliefs in a good way as well, you know, and you have very strong core. So what kind of world do you want to live in?
A world where people believe in themselves to get what they want. And that sounds like contradictory because I just like said, like I'm not sure if that's true or if I can do that. But I know I can, and that's why I have these like doubts, because I'm constantly guessing myself, but like there's a core belief that I can do what I want and get what I want. And I think that if a lot of people also felt that way, they'd be a lot happier too. And I think living a happier life is better for everyone, like in general. So I think I would like people, or like to inspire or help people to live a life that makes them happier. And maybe that's not living in a van. Maybe that's living a traditional life, but doing it in a way that makes them feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And I want to highlight too, like just from my experience, that it's the thing that we struggle with that is our truth. So like because you know what it's like to not believe in yourself, you know how important it is, you know, and because completed in it being important, you know how important it is. It's the same thing like for me, because I've been in like these deep depths of darkness and I've seen the light. I know how important it is to continue to crawl out of the hole, you know, and to also accept the ebb and flows. And so that's why and what helps me crawl out is this beautiful thing. So that's why I have a couple little things, and you know, with the shadow work and then the like really pretty things, you know, having those contrasts. And so I just want to you know, often it's the things that we know the best that is generally a little bit of a struggle from time to time, the inner workings of our mind or whatever that hold us back. That is generally like that's what kind of causes these deep-seated beliefs, and and wants for the world. And I love that what the world that you want to live in is one that's like vibing higher, you know? And so why is it important for people to really take responsibility for their happiness, their relationship with self, and in your case, really living in the way that feels truthful for them? Why is that so important?
When you said that, immediately my mind went, because I'm very focused around like motherhood and being the best parent now I can be later for my kids. So I think that if I deal with my shit, and if a lot of people dealt with their shit and like realize their capabilities, when they have kids or when they get to the point in their life, maybe they don't want kids, but when they get to a point in their life where they're influencing people younger than them, and you don't have to be on Instagram to be an influencer, I think that that is what helps create a better world. And like, we won't be here to see that, but I think that really working on yourself now is what breaks patterns later in life. Yeah.
And I want to bring light to the fact of like the immediate cause and effect of that too, because like we are always influencing other people, you know, like if you're a reactive person and you are having a bad day and you don't even take time and you keep blaming and blaming and blaming on something that you have no control over, and you don't take control over your inner world and you keep exploding on other people, that is what you're putting out.
Yeah.
And if you take responsibility for what you're feeling, and if you explode, like that's okay. Like, you know, say sorry, or like
With your exactly.
Next time a little bit more, you know, like it's like be imperfect, be a human, but also like then don't let that be like this vicious spiral of either continuing to do it or beating yourself up so that you feel so shit that you do it, and it's like this vicious cycle. But recognizing that, you know, the vibe, like that's what you're putting out. And so that like the world that you want to live in, like I love that you're like, oh, I actually want people to just be doing what they want, because that like helps me, you know, because I think a lot of people find that they're like, oh, that's so selfish to take care of myself first. That's so selfish to not completely give all of my energy away. And, you know, it's so selfish of me to like not show up for this for my friend because I really actually just needed to rest, you know, like, and it's not selfish. It's about showing up more full, so that fullness is like, that's what's going out, as opposed to like pouring from an empty cup.
Oh, for sure. And like saying that it's selfish is just you, not you specifically, but just like when I say like, oh, that's being selfish, I'm coming from a place of like, I don't think I'm worth what I need in order to be the best person I can be, which is like so untrue. Whereas if I'm just doing what I need, I can show up so much better for everyone else. And my self-worth is so much better. And I can show other people that and be the example.
And also like selfish isn't a bad word, you know?
No.
Like, it's a connotation to like, oh, selfish. And it's like, well, it's kind of my life. Like, it'd be about me a little bit. Like,
totally.
So about like, you know, to live your life for you as well, because you are the part of everybody else as well. So I love it. So how is it that we can help you towards your goals and your projects?
In a literal sense, you can follow along my journey and just see what I'm up to. We have a YouTube channel that you can find over on our page if you click at the top of the screen or whatever. And I like hearing people's experiences and opinions. Like when people send me a message and are telling me what's going on with them, or how they have a dream that they want to achieve, whether it's van life or not, that makes me super happy to connect with people in that way. But how to help me, like, I don't know, maybe like do something for yourself today. We kind of talked about not being afraid to be selfish, and like if you need to take a nap, take a nap.
Cool. So we'll probably wrap this up. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with the community?
it's nice connecting with people on the back end and like meeting the people through you. Obviously, like I am Kayla, but meeting the people through your platform is really nice because those are people that I wouldn't have connected with through my page. So
Yeah.
I'm a really spiritual person, but I don't really talk about that openly. I don't know why. I just don't feel the need to. So connecting with people on your page who are out there telling everyone the shit day they had or the wonderful day they had makes me feel really grounded. So thank you to everyone who connects with us.
Yeah. Cool. And just to give a little bit of a background on that, so Logan does a lot of outreach in our community. So when you're sending a DM, I'm always the one that talks to you. I'm the one that posts the stories. I'm the one that writes the posts and posts them and stuff like that. But the person that is going and finding other passion pilgrims is Logan, you know, and so it's the kind of initial point of contact that she'll send me people and be like, yo, check out this person. And you know, I had this vision of wanting to celebrate people, and so Logan really goes and finds some really amazing people because I'm pretty busy, so like I have a lot of like logistical things to do. So I love that you're like treasure hunting for other pilgrims.
Exactly.
And, you know, and establishing that first point of connection so that like I can then reach out and just be more connected on that way. So I love the I love that we kind of are like on the same wavelength and thinking in the same way, and we both get inspired by people's stories. And I love the way that really helped organically grow this community so that more people can connect with each other, hear, not only just hear what we're going about, like, yeah, it's cool, like we have these online platforms and like, yeah, we sell jewelry and all those things are amazing, but also just a place to call home where you actually belong, you know, for your own unique self is like something that really helped with. So yeah, I love that you're on the team and that I got guided towards you through a couple friends. Yeah, I'm just stoked about it. So thank you for everything that you add to that. And if anybody wants to know Logan a little bit more, which she's part of the little Passion Pilgrim posse, that's my only, like, outside of the people that help make the jewelry, my only employee. But if people want to know a little bit more, then yeah, follow your Instagram and then check out your YouTube and send you a DM because just like me, you love chatting to people and
Totally.
just get inspired just for the sake of being inspired. So
yeah,
thank you.
100% on that.
Cool. Well, I love there's a couple things that you chatted about today, like the illusion of freedom, and you know, you knew what you want at a really young age and creating space, and that you're capable. And so I hope people can take these little golden nuggets and kind of sink into their own life and see where they sit with those things, and reach out to us if you have any questions on how to navigate some of that stuff. If it feels sticky and weird, just send us a message and we'd love to help you navigate back into that space. So
Totally.
cool. So have a good night, and
You too.
and hopefully this posts tonight. So
yes,
I'm gonna.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Good night.
Bye.